Welcome back to another episode of the Campus Live. My name is Sally Sithole, and today we have SAFTA winners in the building. Woo! I am joined by Dr. Shelley Barry and Dr. Aimee Viljoen-Stroebel, and it is quite an honor to be sitting with SAFTA winners. I mean, we can see the trophy on the table. I'm literally getting goosebumps, but I'm so excited because this is an award that reminds me or celebrates home, celebrates UJ, celebrating the filming industry. Welcome back. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm really excited. This is a really, really big win for us students as well. So tell me about the documentary. You have won this award for Best Documentary Short. What is the documentary about, and what was the inspiration?
Okay, so I was home with my mother in the Eastern Cape in 2020. I had just gone for a holiday and lockdown happened. I was also in the throes of finishing my PhD, and I needed to make a film because I was doing a PhD in creative practice. I had no idea what to do because I was basically isolated to the home environment, and because of my comorbidities, I was terrified of going anywhere. So I've always had this challenge in the past where I've had to think about, okay, what can I make in this room? What can I make in this environment? It's been a guiding principle of my work. So I thought, okay, I'll make a film about the house that I'm in. And the house has a very special story because when I was shot in taxi violence in 1996 and consequently became a person with a disability, I was very depressed. And a professor, her name is Jane Taylor, unfortunately she just recently passed, she said to me, do you know of the work of Frida Kahlo, the Mexican artist? And I was like, I don't know, I don't care. But when I discovered Frida Kahlo's work, it really inspired me because she's a woman with a disability and she made her greatest work after having a disability. So I was like, well, if Frida could do it, I can do it. And at that time, I just needed that spark of inspiration. Yeah. So my mom dedicated our house. She made it blue, which was Frida's house was blue, and dedicated a room to Frida in the house. And so that was the spark of the story. But it also includes so many other layers and elements, but that was the creative spark for it, and then kind of built from there.
I love that. But also you are a filmmaker and a film lecturer at the University of Johannesburg. And just walk me through your academic journey in terms of it inspiring you to make this film as well.
So I think because, again, it's creative practice. So I was inspired also by a Lithuanian filmmaker. His name was Jonas Mekas. And he felt that it was so important to document everyday life, everyday nuances, the simple things of life. Drinking tea, looking at a flower, filming a cat, he just filmed everyday life. And I used his methodology as an inspiration. So I filmed every single day. That's why I thought nothing is going to come from this film because there was like nothing much going on. Like some days I would just film a flower or the cat in the garden or a bush outside or the fire I had just made, or the scones my mom had just given me. So it was using that methodology of creative practice based on that filmmaker's kind of work of just filming and finding the story afterwards.
I had the pleasure of watching the documentary, right? And I realized that they are very personal issues or stories, the story that you're telling in the documentary. And a lot of people tend to not go that far in terms of telling their personal story. But why did you see that it's important to not shy away at all about telling your truth, telling your personal story to the viewers?
Well, I think Aimee and I were talking about this the other day, and I was saying, I'm so done with personal storytelling. But I sort of didn't have anything else at that point in time. I had to rely on my own story, and I brought back elements of my story that I have told before. I just told it in a different way. But I do think that personal storytelling is a very powerful place and space and starting point as well. Because if we don't tell our own stories, who will? And that's not my own words, but the words of Mira Nair, an amazing filmmaker based in New York. But also, yeah, I mean, it's not just your own story. Things work on a universal level as well. So.
But like you also said, I think earlier, saying that the film is very raw and it tells Shelley's story, but you said it was kind of like an ode to your previous work and what you've done. It's like a goodbye.
Yeah, it is an ode, an ode to the earlier work. Yes, to preserve it, to acknowledge it. Yeah.
Because I can imagine this is the work that you've done in the past is what defines you now, you know. But coming to you, Dr. V, you know, editors are not normally celebrated for the work that they do. And I see editors as unsung heroes. But just walk me through the journey of you editing this documentary. What are some of the challenges that you had faced? I can imagine you said it's COVID-19 when you shot this.
Yeah.
So how was the experience like?
Sure. How many re-edits? 120?
Really? 164?
It's many re-edits.
The last time, yeah, we checked.
Yeah, it was a process because we basically, like Shelley said, she shot different sections of like random things. And I'll talk a little bit about this one shot. It's my favorite shot in the whole movie. It's of her cat Nosy.
Yeah.
And when we put the shot into the film originally, Nosy was still with Shelley and her mom in the Eastern Cape, and in between had gotten lost. And in the section where Nosy is on, it's the shot of Nosy rubbing his head against Shelley's foot. And it says the little things that become the big things. And it was every time I see that, I just want to cry a little bit because it just, that whole process of making the film was kind of having all these random pieces of footage and putting a storyline to it. I think that's what makes the film really is the voiceover and the story that goes with it. So the edit was basically putting things on the timeline, swapping them around, feeling, is this the vibe that we want to go for? Is this working? And when we got the visuals down, we started doing the voiceover, many different takes of the voiceover. First, no, it's too fast. Okay, let's do it again. Let's edit it in. No, now it's too slow. We're going to fall asleep. So it was quite a process to get to the final product. But I mean, every time I watch the film, I still end up crying because I just feel so personal and like our little baby.
Oh, that is so beautiful. I mean, after so many edits, and you realize or learn that you have been nominated for the best documentary category, and then you won the award. Like, what was going on in your like, what's your feelings? Like,
so much shaking.
Before we go on to the glory of that, I also just want to say, to follow up on what you were saying about how editors are often unsung heroes, because I also worked as an editor for many years on my own work predominantly, until thank goodness I found Aimee in my life, and we've actually been collaborating for several years now, and it's been so amazing to find someone who I can work with in that kind of way, and it, it just reminds us also how film is such a collaborative process, and this was really a collaborative process, and it was great because we could work from a distance because it was all online, and what Aimee brought to the film as well, her suggestions, her ideas, and an absolute commitment. And if I say let's do another cut, Aimee would be like, okay. But there was never a moment where I felt like, she's had enough, I must stop. Because I think it's also one thing that taught me, I've never worked so hard on a film in my entire life. And I was, there was such attention to every single second in this film. And I feel like that's what you need to do when you make anything, is to really, when you've done, know that you've done your best and put it out into the world. And whether people are going to like it or not, you know you've done your best. And that really is something that I take away from this process and would want to pass on as well to students.
You know, I can imagine that Aimee was not there. Dr. Aimee was not there when you were shooting the film, right? Because sometimes it is quite difficult for an editor and the person who shot the film to collaborate because they don't really understand the inspiration, or they don't really understand like the chronological order of how the film is going to go. So like, how did it really work? Because I can think you're in another province, she's in another province, but yet you were able to collaborate and make this beautiful piece. How like did you maneuver around that, Dr. Aimee?
So WeTransfer is our best friend. So Shelley would send me bulk clips over WeTransfer, and then she would send me a little Word document with scribbles and time codes. She's like, okay, take a bit of this clip, the cat with no, and the teacups here, and take a piece of the cactus here, and a Frida picture over here, and I would just have to sit there with the document. Okay, we're pulling that. How many seconds did she want? 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Next, what's going on? And then send it to her, and we'll both kind of be like, I don't know, maybe we should swap the images around. But what helped a lot with this film, I think, is because when I was doing my honors year, in third year, my student film, I was also a student at UJ, my student film had won Best Film. And I'd then gotten an internship with Shelley to do during my honors year, and that's when we started working together. So that was in 2017, and since then I'd kind of been working on her work and her retrospective and things. So that I think that's also why I find the film so emotional, because I know the story behind every image and you know, every line and every difficulty that she had to go through to get it there. So it's a very, very personal story for me as well. Yeah,
I love that. I love that. You know, when you're talking about COVID-19, a lot of people had so many challenges because so many things has happened in a very short space of time. But I just want you to shed light on why was it so important for you to share your personal story during that difficult time in lockdown?
To be honest with you, I was very scared, as many of us were. You know, because of the comorbidities that I have, dying was a real possibility. Yeah. Especially because I breathe through a tracheostomy in my neck, and so my lungs are very vulnerable, and that's where COVID strikes, right? So I was terrified. And I thought, you know, what if this is my last piece of work? You know, what will I leave behind? So there was also that kind of thinking in the making of this film. So that's why it also has all these other elements in it. Ended up having all these other elements of the previous work. It'd be like, well, if I go, it's like
serenade to myself.
Yeah, this is what I did before I'm out.
It's been a ride, guys.
Yeah, you know. And so there was that as well, and also because I didn't have anything else.
Yeah.
I didn't have another story to tell. So it was also about making use of what you have, and creating the story out of what is available, you know. And we always have a million stories around us all the time, every day. There's no shortage of stories to tell. You know, we just have to be open and receptive to what, I always say, to what's coming through you.
Yeah.
Like, I never worry about what my next film is going to be, because I believe it will come to me, it will come through me. And that is already what's happening. We're already working on our next film.
Oh, is it? Am I going to be featured in it?
Not this one.
Not this one, Sally.
Okay. So you're both film lecturers, and so with this win, award-winning, you know, with this win, what do you think this means, or what message do you want this to be for your students in the film industry?
Aimee can start first.
Yeah, I think this was a very interesting time, and getting back to the question about how the SAFTAs was as well. I think going with Shelley and, you know, being nominated, and then we went to the Netflix party on rooftop in San, a very fabulous party. So it feels like I've been on a crazy trip, because when you go with Shelley to any event, she knows everybody and everyone's coming, and you like meet people, and I'm like, so it's been such a whirlwind. But what I love about, you know, having is that I've been teaching film and TV for a number of years now at different institutions, but just this kind of validated for myself that I'm not teaching things that I can't back up. Like, I actually know what I'm doing. And I think it's hard sometimes, especially as a lecturer, to be vulnerable like that, because your students see you as the person who's supposed to know everything, and you need to, and that obviously is not always the case. So this was for me a very validating experience to say, you know what, I'm actually not that.
Yeah, congratulations.
And it's just, I think it just gives the students something to be excited about and be proud of, to say like, we're being taught by people.
I'm definitely proud. Hey, my lecture is an award-winning, you know. What about you, Dr. Shelley?
Well, I mean, I think I've definitely follow up on what Aimee said as well. It's very inspiring, and obviously for our students too. I mean, the response from the students has just been so heartwarming. But I also think that often at universities, in the film and television departments, you have lecturers who have made a film in 1980 last. Or whatever, you know. I'm not trying to put anyone down, but I'm just saying, I think that from a student's perspective, it's inspiring to have someone who is both making and teaching, and who is in the industry, you know. So we're not just spouting theoretical concepts, but they are concepts that we have implemented or are implementing, and we're always learning. There's no point where you're like, oh, I know it all. That's rubbish. You know, so you're always learning and you're always discovering. And I mean, I think if my students can think, well, if she can do it, rolling around there in her chair, why can't I? Why can't I? You know. And again, it was made with a phone. You know,
is it?
Yes, it was made on a mobile phone.
Wow.
I think that's an important thing, because a lot of time students will complain and say, you know, we don't have money for equipment, or there's not enough equipment for all of us. And then I say, but you have your phone. No, but you can't shoot on your phone. And that's completely changed. My cell phone takes better pictures than my Canon 7D camera at this point. So, I think it's important that you have to, that we keep pointing that out, that it was shot on a mobile phone, and it was done with like basically one person shooting, one person editing, and
a camera on my lap. Which was my phone on my lap.
You know, honestly, I thought it was a camera, like a literal camera on your lap. But this is really interesting to know, and to see that you don't have to be limited you don't have to make an excuse to say, no, I don't have a phone, so I can't shoot. You know, I mean, I don't have a camera, so I can't shoot, you know. But what advice, Dr. Shelley, do you have for aspiring filmmakers who want to be in your shoes?
Make, and make some more.
Okay.
That's my advice. If you want to be a filmmaker, you must make films. If you want to be a writer, you must write. If you want to be a painter, you must paint. You get the picture. So, I mean, I've made really bad films in my life, and I probably will still make some bad films, but that's not the point. The point is to continue making, because with everything that you make, you learn, and you grow, and you evolve as an artist. So just keep making, you know, and don't make with the right intention. Don't make to be commercially successful or to be better than A, B, or C. You know, make work that means something to you, and that honors your craft. That, you know, and be inspired by others, you know. Like, I feel like I'm 20 years in the game next year of making.
Oh,
and
wow.
I feel like I'm just getting warmed up.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This is interesting.
So, like, you know, I'll probably be making video diaries on my deathbed. Okay, it's really done.
It's done.
Thank you. It was a good ride.
My goodness.
You know, but just make.
And then she'll be retransferring Aimee. Add it to the timeline.
Do something.
Bye.
Oh my goodness.
You know, And you don't need to wait for like the next like big funding or like make it happen somehow, because we have so many amazing storytellers and stories.
But work, I think also you need to learn to work with other people. You need to find your people. Like we all have certain people we work with, and you constantly work with them, and you meet new people and they come on. But that's, I think a lot of times people either want to go in it by themselves and it becomes overwhelming, or you end up with the wrong crew, and that can also kind of put you off.
This is a very important.
Yeah, it's so important. You need to find the right people. Otherwise, you're
Yes.
not going to enjoy your craft. You're not going to enjoy your life.
Yeah.
So very, very important.
Dr. Aimee, taking you back to editing, right? What have you learned? Because I know we learn every day, we grow every day, but in the process of editing this documentary, what have you learned in that season about yourself? Like what moments have you said, I see some growth here, this is something that I can take with me in my career. What is that?
I think something, and I've been thinking about this morning. I think also when I was speaking to one of my colleagues yesterday, we were talking about how to handle feedback. And when I started working with Shelley when I was still a student, I was very emotional when I would get feedback. I would take it very personally and think like, oh, I didn't do the job well enough, and kind of get angry. I know, it's great. I hit it very well. But that's how it used to be, and it's very difficult, especially with a creative thing like filmmaking. You put your soul into it, you put your stamp and your personality on it, so when people give you feedback and it's not good, you kind of feel that hurts. So something that I found with camera on my lap is, I don't know, maybe because we've been working together long enough, but it was the first edit where I was like, if Shelley gave me feedback, I'm like, okay, let's go. We'll change it. I know she knows where she's going. Eventually it'll all work out. So that was just learning how to, and I think that happened during the same time I was also doing my PhD, because Shelley was doing hers and I was doing mine. And I kind of took that onto my research aspect as well. When I was working with my supervisor, if he would give me feedback, I wouldn't be as upset or as kind of, seer gemaak, if you want to say it in Afrikaans, as I used to be. And I think that's something very, very important for me, at least. It's some type of peace now.
I like that.
I didn't know this. I'm hearing this for the first
Now you know.
I hear all my secrets.
But listen, we have one in the bag, and I'm pretty sure we're still going to have more coming in the bag.
Is there a second one in the bag?
There's a second one in the bag? Wait.
This is the second.
Is it? Okay, let's talk about the first. Where was the first? Where did it happen? How did it happen?
The first was 5 years ago in 2018.
Okay.
I was awarded a SAFTA for my contribution to the film industry as a person with a disability.
Okay. So 2-time SAFTA winner. That deserves a round of applause. Okay, so but from this moving forward, what is the future looking like? Are you currently working on a future project? What is it all about, if you don't mind sharing?
No, not at all. I think we're both very excited about this next film. So the film we're working on at the moment is a film by transgender and gender diverse persons in South Africa. So over 6 countries, from Zim to Malawi to so many countries, Lesotho and South Africa. So what I did was I trained people in mobile phone filmmaking, all online, through WhatsApp, by the way.
Wow.
And they're sending back the footage. And then I'm working on the script and sending it to Aimee. And so we're only starting actually with edit now. But the plan is for the film to be done this year, and then to hit the circuit next year.
But the stories coming out of
But
that
the stories
process
I can't tell you how incredible it is. So it's going to be a first, definitely a first. It hasn't been done, and I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. And you never know, we might bring another SAFTA.
Yeah, no, hopefully. Aimee, so in class, so Amy's my lecturer, right? Amy's my lecturer. So in class, you teach us about documentary and so forth, the history of documentary.
Yeah.
But now, where do you see the future of documentary in South Africa?
That is a very loaded question. I feel like I need 7 weeks to unpack this. Oh gosh, I don't know how I would answer that question. I think like Shelley said, and my students and I have also been talking about this because we do a course on African cinema, and where we kind of discuss what does it mean to be an African filmmaker and where are we going. And I hear from students at UJ and students at different institutions that I've worked at that there is a big need for different stories. They're tired of the things that they've been seeing and they want something that's real. So I think the docies we're going to be seeing is going to be, I think, maybe a bit more. We're going to start seeing like newer voices, younger voices, but also more rawness. Not so much structured, because I think
polished.
The polishedness is going to go away because we have all of this. You can shoot on your phone, you can edit quickly online. If you want to talk about 4IR being implemented, just look at how we're shooting and editing films at the moment. So I think there's going to be a lot more being produced and a lot more stories coming out, maybe not in the most polished, beautiful, the documentary style that we expect, but at least we'll be hearing other people's stories and other people's voices, which is very important.
Yeah.
All right. So lastly,
I agree.
For those who haven't seen the documentary, can you just give a bit of a teaser? What is it really about? What they can expect? We already know that there's Nosy, the cat, but, but what more? What more can they expect from the documentary?
Yeah, so there's a lot of my archive that's in there, and a reflection on I guess life, death, living, being in the moment, appreciating everything for the present moment. And we're definitely going to have a screening at UJ next year. The Dean is very excited about the SAFTA-win, the Dean of Humanities, Prof. Camilla Naidu. And so we look forward to sharing it. And then also with UJTV. Yeah. We're certainly going to make it available to UJTV after the screening, at the physical screening at UJ. And then, yes, it's already being studied at Princeton University in the States, for example.
Oh, wow.
And there will be several other institutions as well, because that's where the work is going to next. Not only a camera on my lap, but next year's my 20-year retrospective. So it's going to be traveling. So there's going to be lots to see. And I'm excited about the new film. I really, really am.
I'm also excited.
So that's the other advice I would give. Finish one, start another. Give yourself a bit of a break in between. Breathe, exhale, reflect, but keep going. Keep going.
That was going to be my next question about what advice, but now keep going.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Yeah, keep creating. I think because, like Shelley likes to remind me of this when I get into my UJ work and into my research writing. She'll be like, okay, but when are you shooting? Have you been editing? She'll keep reminding me you have to be creative and create, because as creatives, you don't maybe always notice it, because we kind of have been taught for many years, I think, to push that creative side of you down, that little bit of crazy that you need to be to make things. And Shelley likes to remind me, and now we can remind others to kind of let your crazy out and just make something, even if it is on your phone and you just edit something for the day. 20 years later, you can put all of your little films together and make a massive documentary. You don't know. So you need to release your creative energy.
Oh, I love that.
And don't make films for awards.
Oh, yes. I was about to ask, actually.
That's not why you're making films. It's a nice to have. Mm-hmm. Even when we were there at the SAFTAs and the nominees are,
oh my
we're like sitting there shaking. But
and when they said, we gotta go up now.
But I was not attached to the outcome. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I was honored that we were nominated, but I wasn't attached to winning. Yeah. Because that wasn't the point of making the film.
It didn't actually sink in until we'd left the stage and I was watching the video online of the action, and I'm like, this was a big event. This is like a big deal.
This is me. Wow, but I wanted to say, or ask rather, for a filmmaker who's been creating for years, but they haven't gotten a validation of maybe winning an award, and now maybe they're at the verge of giving up to say, look, I am creating, but I don't think I'm getting enough credit for the work that I'm doing. Like, is it enough or whatever? So what would you say to someone like that, who's been creating for years, but they don't see any positive feedback or, you know, recognition?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to bring up Maya Angelou's advice to Oprah Winfrey. When Oprah said that her school in South Africa is her greatest legacy.
Yeah.
And Maya says, you don't know what your legacy is because you don't know the lives you have touched and how you've touched people's lives. So for someone who's made films for years and years, and they've had no recognition and no awards, they don't know how their film that they think may be obscure touch someone's life that they'll never meet.
Yeah.
So you never know what your impact is. If you make things with good heart and good intention, you don't know what that impact is going to be. It's certainly not about an award. You know, those are things, these are material things, but the way your work affects other people, that's where the real award is at. Reward, not award.
Reward.
That's so profound. That's pretty profound.
That was
right?
fabulous, darling.
You should put your name at the end there, so we can start quoting
Shelley
you
Barry
as well.
quote.
Yeah. Well, that is where we leave it, ladies and gentlemen, for the Campus Life, and of course this amazing episode, because I am featuring, or rather, I am sitting with SAFTA winners in the building. Come on! So until I see you next time, from myself, Sally Sithole, goodbye.
The University of Johannesburg, the future reimagined.